Empire. We're going to learn a little bit about wine, courtesy of the NFL wine guy, Will Blackmon. That's right, a little off the field action and education, but it's another episode of the Football Jones podcast. What's up, everybody? It's Mike Jones. Read me at usatoday.com. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @ByMikeJones. Thanks for coming back for another episode. As I said, we're going to hang out with Will Blackmon today. I went to California last week for a story that I'm working on the former NFL defensive backs growing business that he started, NFL Wine Guy. A lot of you guys, if you're a Redskins fan, are probably familiar with Will Blackmon. He was cornerback and a safety. He also played for the Packers, the Seahawks, the Giants, and the Redskins. And now he's retired, and wine is something that's always fascinated him, the business side of it. And so he's worked to educate himself on it, and now he's starting a business where he's a personal wine concierge for his former teammates. A lot of guys will hit him up and ask him, hey, what's a good wine? What should I buy? What should I try? And so he wanted to learn more about this. He's going to tell the story in our episode, and how he got started, how it works, and where he's going with this business. I always like off the field type of stories, whether it's a business, whether it's different ventures that guys do. And so this is a cool kind of look at an after football venture that Will Blackmon, one of the smartest guys I've ever covered, is undertaking. So here we go, out there in Santa Ana last week at a shop that he works at kind of part-time, works in conjunction with, called Wine Exchange. So here we are, me and Will Blackmon. So how did you get into this?
How can I say this? Okay, so I always was interested in wine, and then in college, I remember my roommate Matthias Kiwanuka was also my team on the Giants. He always had this wine rack in the kitchen. Right. We were roommates together, and we just always enjoyed it. And then once I got drafted, I was fortunate to go to Green Bay and be with Charles Woodson, and I found out he had his own winery. So I remember every weekend or so he would. Are you good? You good?
Excuse me,
you good? Say what's up.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, so every weekend he would take the DBs out, or he and I would go out and have a glass somewhere, or he'll bring his own wine, and so I learned a lot through him, and that's just something I always just enjoyed and always acquired, and I actually incorporated into studying for games. I had to set the mood when I studied for games. Yeah, so.
Gotcha. So what kind of wine do you have to sip when you're studying for games?
So usually, let me take you to a night before a game. Yes,
okay.
I had wine night before a game. So I usually ate a big thing of pasta, spaghetti, sauce, all that stuff. So I usually get Italian wine, like Sangiovese or something like that. Yeah, red wine.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that just.
It's usually red. Okay. It's usually red when I'm studying.
How come?
I don't know, because it's not. It's not as chilled, temperature wise. So it's at nighttime, kind of chill out, mellow out. I usually have white, depending if I'm pairing it with food or during the day if I want something refreshing. But it's usually red.
Okay, gotcha. That's your go-to then. Yeah. What is it that you like about red better than white?
I don't have a preference. Okay. I like all the above. And then I just started to want to know more and more about wine, and then I kind of was part of that wave that saw that documentary on Netflix called Somm. Actually, a good friend of mine, Jason Wise, produced it, and it's about 5 guys training to be master sommeliers. And I was like, damn, dude, there's way more to this than just getting a glass and drinking it. There's a whole education, there's history, there's everything about us. I wanted to know more. So we're in Santa Ana. Costa Mesa is probably the next exit. They have a wine boutique there. one of the owners is Peter Neptune, who's a master sommelier, and they have classes there. So I was like, man, I want to go and take a class. And so through the WSET Wine and Spirits Education Trust, I took a 8-week course there and ended up getting a level 2 certification. I have my nice pin here.
There we go.
Yes, got my pin there. So it was cool because it told me there's like way more about it. You know, there could be I could have a $2, $5 bottle of wine and appreciate it because I knew I would know what the producer did or the history of what went into that bottle of wine, or I can get a 300 bottle of wine where they probably put all extra stuff in there and took shortcuts, but found a way to make the wine taste good, you know? So it's like, it all depends, yeah. So, yeah, and so that's kind of where it took me in terms of my mind, a whole different perspective. So when people ask me, oh, do you like red, do you like white? I'm like, I like everything. Yeah. You know, I can appreciate any kind of glass, so it doesn't matter. So it's funny.
Now, what year was this? And was this during the off season that you took this course, or?
It was during the off season. Dude, I can't even remember when I got this thing. I think it was after 15, I believe. Okay. Yeah. I think after that playoff loss to the Packers, I went and had a lot of wine. I think.
Okay,
yeah,
right.
I think
right. How does it work? You get a text message from a guy or a phone call from a guy saying, this is what I'm looking for, or how does that part of the process?
Yeah, so in terms of the whole concierge part, how it works really.
We're walking now?
If you want. Yeah. Oh no, we can start here first.
Okay.
Yeah. The whole concierge part, it's kind of like, so basically so I came here to Wine Exchange, right? So the reason I came here initially is because, you know, I want to learn more about the wine business, and I'm like, man, let me learn how the retail side works. So I come up here, hit up Tristan and Kyle, and talk to them about like, hey, can I just hang out here or even work here, whatever it is, like get a part-time job here just to learn. They're like, yeah, whatever, just what do you want to do? I'm like, all right. And so they kind of had an idea where it was like, hey man, like, you know Christian Navarro? I was like, yeah, he's kind of like the wine concierge to the stars. He's like, you can kind of like, you know, guys, because I say guys hit me up all the time just for ideas or advice. You know, they're like, you can kind of be the wine concierge to athletes. You ever thought about that? And I was like, I have thought about that. So, kind of still like in a process of like letting people know, like, okay, whatever you guys need, word of mouth. I'm not out there advertising like, hey guys, hit me up if you need anything. So yeah, sometimes I get direct or, you know, requests like, I want this, or you like what do you like, what's hot right now, like what's cool, what do you think? And I'm not like, oh, you gotta go get this, you know, $500 bottle of wine. Like it's never like that. Like there's a baseball guy in Florida, I found him a cool Bordeaux Left Bank, which is Cabernet. It's probably like $30 a bottle, and he bought a case, like something like that. So, yeah, gotcha.
So what's been one of the most unusual requests or most challenging requests?
I haven't. You know, fortunately, you know, the help here at Wine Exchange, there are no challenging requests because they go anywhere and the red carpet pulls out for them. So it's kind of like pretty much can get whatever people are looking for the most part.
Right, gotcha.
Yeah,
gotcha. All right,
unless a guy, one of my close friends is like, hey man, you know, get some Screaming Eagle. I'm like, dude, that went for like an auction that I think it went for like $500,000 at an auction. Oh wow, for a bottle of Screaming Eagle. It's like, dude, like chill out, bro.
Yeah. What makes that so?
It was just an auction. It was Tristan can tell you more about it, but that's, you know, people probably were there and muscled up and wanted this Screaming Eagle bottle of wine, and yeah, I would never.
So when you're sipping wine, can you taste it and be like, oh, this is by this company versus this?
Oh, in terms of like blind tasting wise? So that's another beast. I actually did that with Lauren Fioravante, who is a master somm, and we actually did it on Somm TV, blind tasting together. I'm not at the point where I can take you to the actual vineyard. Some people can do that, which is wild. But I can kind of have an idea, like, okay, this is that. Like, my wife and I were at an event the other day, and she all of a sudden showed up with glasses of wine because, you know, I didn't know there were any, and I smelled it, tasted it. I was like, oh, I was like, okay, she got me a Chardonnay. Okay. Yeah, like, I can somewhat do that.
Right. How would you describe the smell and the taste of a Chardonnay?
Okay, so I knew this one was from California. I knew this one she bought me was from California because it's warmer climate there, so you can only imagine, like, this produces a little more sugar, a little more flavor. They use oak out here, which you get the vanilla note, and also there's a process called malolactic fermentation, which is where you get the buttery taste. Lactic, right? Milk, dairy, right? You get the buttery, creamy taste. I'm like, okay, these are all characteristics of a California Chardonnay. Okay. And once again, and what's funny is that's taught. Right. So there's not like, because I thought people just had like a natural gift. Right. You know, you take a glass, man, like they know what it is, but it's taught. You know, you know, like, okay, this area produces this kind of wine, and these other characteristic notes from this type of wine. Gotcha. So there are people that study for years and years, and they're able to remember that whole grid and that process where, okay, these are all the characteristics, and they take me, boom, there. Right. You know,
so give me a characteristic of like an Italian wine.
Italian wine. Gosh, I'm not savvy on Italian wine.
Okay, what about France?
Straight up. So France is interesting because, you know, it's what I learned about France too. People are like, oh, I love a Bordeaux. It's like, okay, like what kind of Bordeaux? I just love Bordeaux wine. Well, there's 3 rivers, and it's the Gironde. I got get my pronunciation. I'll get that to you later. There's a river, and so there's a left bank of Bordeaux and there's a right bank of Bordeaux. Left bank of Bordeaux is Cabernet. Okay. The right bank is Merlot. Wow. Right. So so yeah, it's interesting.
If you said you've had some guys who are very picky or whatever, why do they bother hitting you up if they already know or go check it or whatever? Just because they need that recommendation and they know that you've studied up on this?
Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to. Just my recommendation, or guys, like I said, if guys are business savvy, then they're gonna like, okay, I'm gonna compare, because they might have somebody they know already. Right. You know, it's more so like, I trust Will. Yeah. You know, he's not gonna mess with me right now, so I don't know. That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah. So what do you like about being a wine concierge?
Me, I'm just all about like sharing, man, and that's kind of what it is. You know, that's kind of how I was, you know, playing football too. I love sharing information. I love sharing experiences. I loved, like I used to love Thursdays, you know, on the Redskins. I would have guys come by, we would have film together. I just like sharing information. Or when I was in Jacksonville, we would have like Friday meetings, and Coach Dwayne Walker was like, okay, Will, like you always like find extra notes or tips, like what do you got for us today? Every Friday, what do you got for us today? And I get to stand up and say these are the things, and people look for that, you know. So even now, I still get calls from guys that want to go over stuff, or who trust my advice, or trust whatever I'm thinking, you know, without even advertising. I'm like, hey, you guys, call me because you need something. No, it's just, I don't know. I guess I feel trust. I like being trusted. Yeah. That's kind of what it comes down to. Right.
I want to go back to the beginning when you said Charles Woodson, the wine had always kind of appealed to you. Why? Like some people will like a liquor or something, or a beer or whatever. Yeah. What was it about wine?
You know, people always say an acquired taste, and that's just what it was. It was just acquired. It just, you know, like, I like whiskey too. You know, it's acquired. I like how it tastes. I like the experience. I like how it makes me feel. Like it was like that. So that's kind of how it was with wine too. And I love the fact that, you know, I love food. So wine and food is the perfect marriage. And so yeah, so I think basically, man, is obviously doing what I do football wise, you know, learning about the wine. That's kind of where, I was like, man, I want to share this more and talk to people about it. And I really didn't want to talk about it. We can walk this way. I didn't want to really talk about it on my main like Twitter handle and stuff like that, because I had people who follow me don't care about wine really. They want to know more about like football and my knowledge and stuff like that. So I was like, let me create NFL Wine Guy.
Right, yeah.
I thought it had a ring to it. NFL Wine Guy, right?
Yeah.
It says exactly what it is. And let me create a whole page there. And if I did post anything wine on my main Will Blackmon handle, did I get some people? So I was like, okay, let me find a way to monetize and get people all the way over here.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, well, NFL Wine Guy, concierge, personal concierge to, athletes or whoever it is. And then I was like, man, I should like kind of have a wine club. I should try to do this, but I want to be able to try to have something for everybody, not just, I take care of the big dogs. I want to get everybody involved, the real passionate people. So that's where me and my buddy Patrick Meyer, he became the creative director of NFL Wine Guy, and we're gonna start a subscription service.
Okay.
Where people can subscribe, join the wine club. Every month we send them 2 bottles of my favorite wine that month. It's just gonna create a whole culture, because I for real enjoy this whole wine life. Like it's scary because it's almost like as passionate as it was like with football. Like it's like that. It's not. This is not a hobby. This is a real deal. Like I'm not playing with this stuff. I really love it. It's a completely different world. Once again, I love the history. I love the art. I love the stories. I love all of that. And that's kind of how it was for football with me too. Like I grew up watching NFL films with Steve Sable, John Facenda's voice, and all that, and just the art and the history of the foundation. And I appreciate all that. And that's where I could see the similarities with that.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the best. Like the best wines go through they gotta be stressed. They go through the worst stuff. You gotta have strong. You can't just get regular soil that you grew tomatoes on. No, you gotta get like really, gravel or clay or just all kinds of stuff to stress it. Because the wines that fight through the most stress really produce the best grapes. So it's cool.
Wow. So were you working on are you starting your own label? Or do you think that's something in the future?
Eventually I'm gonna do that. I'm in a small process right now. I'm really working on this NFL Wine Guy thing. It's gonna be a whole brand. It's gonna be Wine Club. Like I said, instructional one-on-one videos, how-tos,
right?
Fun things, dinners, events, all that stuff. I'm really gonna make it a big deal.
Gotcha. So eventually you'll have your own vineyard one day, you think?
Maybe a virtual winery.
Okay.
We'll see.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Good deal. Cool. That's cool, man.
Yeah, man.
That's good. So are you out here, is this like every day of the week, like 5 days a week, 3 days a week, or like
at the shop?
Yeah.
I come here just Tuesdays.
Okay.
Tuesdays is a big distributor day. Where they come here. And so the guys want me to come here and sit down, try these wines.
Right.
And learn, get schooled up,
right?
Like last week we had a couple of wines that were fault wines that were bad wines.
Oh, okay.
So they wanted me to like smell these wines, like this is bad,
right?
And the sign of a wine that's not good, like always smell the bottle. If you smell like cardboard or something of that nature, like wet cardboard, something like that, like that's that wine. Toss it.
Wow. Okay, so that was me and Will talking, and I got one of his mentors, Kyle Meyer, who is co-owner of Wine Exchange. Just wanted to get his opinion on what he thought of Will as a growing wine expert and businessman. And so we hear from him to close off our visit there at Wine Exchange. So, as a wine concierge, what is it that you observed about Will that makes him good at this?
Wow, on the spot.
Yep.
No, but you know,
I've been like, what makes him a good defensive back? Now I'm going you as a wine concierge.
But it's a pretty easy question to answer, because one of the first things you need in wine is you need passion.
Okay.
Just like with anything else. And the key for us is when we talked to Will, we noticed straight away that he had the same passion for this as he did his hitting wide receivers. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's got the same, you could see, like, the gears are grinding.
Right.
And when I see people that the gears are grinding, that's when I know, like, they're in it to win it, right?
Right, yeah.
And I haven't seen him do anything halfway, you know what I mean?
Right.
So in that sense, we knew he had the passion, so it's up to us to work with Will to develop and create the base with which he can unleash that passion on the rest of the wine world. And that's what's happening.
Nice.
That's what's happening. That's what's happening right now. So
he says, "Come and get smarter.
Come get smarter."
That's what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Come drink 50 wines for breakfast and get smarter.
Right.
Yeah. No.
He just asks a bunch of questions.
Yeah.
Right?
He's got to be a sponge. You know.
Uh-huh.
He's got to be a sponge. You know. Just it's the same type of thing. And he already has that capability because of your previous career, because of sitting down in sessions and sitting there going, okay, blah 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 blah, having 40, 200 playbook this thick in front of you. Wine's kind of the same deal. It's absorbing, and it's just as much fun, maybe.
It's a lot of fun. No,
this doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt, right? Yeah, it doesn't hurt.
Maybe a little bit the next morning sometimes.
It'd be all right. It's healing. It was my medicine.
Yeah. So no, we think Will's a natural. So
that's cool.
We'll get him in through this room of wines as fast as we possibly can. So.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Interesting stuff. I did not know an ounce of what I learned about the wine business and all of that from Will. As you can tell, he really knows his stuff, but he's also growing and expanding in his knowledge. It'll be interesting to see how his business grows. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Come back for another episode. Share this with your friends. Download, subscribe, tell them to. Again, the story will be online Friday on usatoday.com, so you can read the whole thing. And then I will talk to you guys next week for a recap of this coming weekend's football action. Thanks. Hope you have a great day.